Welcome back to Flipping the Field, from kickoff to closing, where construction meets real estate.
Yes, sir. Christian, happen to be back, man.
We are back.
Heck yeah.
Another round.
Another go at it. But yeah, I mean, really big topic that I want to go over. We actually were just at the IMN Ground Up Construction Conference down in Atlanta, and there were lenders present, there were other home builders present, and I mean, it was a unique type of people to be around, because I mean, we're within that space, so we're talking with other lenders, talking with builders, talking about loans that we're doing, talking about projects that we have going on. It's nice to be able to be surrounded by like-minded people.
100%. I mean, it was the sentiment was great. You know, it was awesome to see the crowd of people. It was the first year the IMN group was doing this particular conference. Great showing at the JW Marriott. Got to see industry folks that we haven't seen in a while. And, you know, it was great to reconnect and, you know, see folks shake hands and just really get back going. You know, I think one of the things that really stood out, a very common theme for the past, 3, 4, 5 years plus, is build to rent still here. And
yes,
I don't think it's going anywhere.
It certainly is.
It's one of those things where, it's an interesting topic because of how to underwrite it on the front end on development, but also, even on the institutional level for takeouts. So, that was one of those topics that, hey, we knew it was going to be there, but, how do people do those types of deals right now? But, I think you had an interesting panel that I think we really want to dive into and, tell everybody kind of what your panel was about, so that, obviously a lot of folks weren't there, and really want to let people know of, everything that y'all talked about and really some of your favorite insights.
Yeah, for sure. Prior to jumping into the panel itself, I do want to mention as well, just a lot of people within the real estate industry, within private lending, but within really any type of professional career. I want to talk about conferences for a second, because especially nowadays when a lot of people are working remote, and you might call into a group setting and being able to have these different discussion topics and things like that. Being able to get out there and get FaceTime and actually put some face to some names, instead of 100%. Just doing it behind a computer, doing it behind a Microsoft Teams meeting.
Yeah.
Being able to actually get some of that FaceTime to where you don't only have to talk shop the whole time. Everybody's strategy is different. There's so many different nuances. And just being able to be around people like that just within the same industry. I mean, if you haven't been to a conference, I know sometimes they have a little bit of a higher price tag to them, but seriously, I mean, that's the value that you gain from being around other types of people, or even then some look at it as your competitors in the space.
Yeah.
The knowledge that you leave those types of conference with is invaluable of what it could do for your business.
I mean, you can sit there and go booth by booth talking to competitors, not really trying to steal intel or information, but, hey, how are you looking at things? How are you underwriting, or just different viewpoints? And really, you can do that with everybody at any conference to really understand what's going on in a specific market or type of product. It doesn't necessarily just have to be private lending or construction. That can apply to, heck, any industry.
It absolutely can. And a lot of those people go into it kind of with the thought process that, well, I want to go in and gather some of that intel. I want to figure out what some of the competitive advantages are that my competitors are doing in the space. A lot of it's just an open conversation.
Yeah.
So
everybody wants to help everybody.
Everybody wants to help everybody, and some of the questions that you may have as to what you may feel as though is an advantage to your business, other people might be looking at it differently. So what you are wanting to gain out of that conversation, they're wanting to do the same.
100%.
So going into it with an open mind, I really wanted to emphasize that, because not only on the relationships that we've built over the years, but just being able to go and get some of the FaceTime with those other like-minded individuals is huge, and you can't put a price tag on it.
Now, your panel, though,
yes,
it was awesome.
It was.
And I think it was something that you could talk. We could sit here and have a 3-hour long discussion, if not longer.
How much time you got?
Yeah, because you're talking about construction.
Yep.
And then you really dive into that deeper when you're talking about compressing that timeline to finish from permit to CO.
Yep.
Now, talk to me about few things, right? We always say that we're never going to compromise quality.
Yep.
Now, if you're not ever going to compromise quality, how are you cutting down on from permit to CO? I mean, there's a lot of things that come to my mind, and I kind of want to hear what you're thinking because, you know, as a lender or even anybody else that takes out a loan, you know, when you're developing or building a spec, whatever you're doing, you have a maturity on that loan, and you are trying to beat that maturity date.
Yeah.
So how do people cut down those timelines?
Not even beating the maturity date, but also just being able to minimize that interest carry of what those holding costs are throughout the project. But there's so many different ways to do it. I mean, a lot of it's low-hanging fruit. And I mean, we can get very granular on this, as you know, and you've already mentioned, but I want to highlight a couple key topics. And it really comes down to systems and your processes. Now, a lot of times when people think about processes within a company and within a construction company as well, you're thinking, okay, project team, what happens when a change order comes in? What happens when an RFI comes up? Those are very important, do not get me wrong. But if we're explicitly talking about the topic of that panel, like you mentioned, permit to CO, construction timelines, first thing of which I want to say is the planning in itself. So everybody has heard of pre-construction.
This is exactly like conferences, right?
It is.
If you don't do your work ahead of time and you try to do the work on site, literally,
Yep.
at a conference and on a job site, it's too late.
It is. It absolutely is too late. And I'm gonna say a couple key topics that I want to touch on specifically in regard to construction timelines. And you know how my brain works. I want you to call me out if I didn't talk about any of them, in case I go on a couple tangents here. So first of which, I want to talk about the actual pre-construction phase and what goes into that planning and the level of detail. I also want to talk about the software and systems that are in place. So high level, being able to streamline communication and kind of what that looks like within the project team as well as the trade partners involved.
Yep.
I also want to talk about being deeply ingrained and on the same page with your lender. That's one thing we do both sides, lending and construction, so we understand the importance of it. But as these builders are continuing to grow and continuing to scale and taking on more projects, doing additional units, they might do 5 new builds in a year and they want to get to 100.
Yeah.
There's a certain way that you have to do it, and that capital partner or the lender that you're working with is a huge piece of that.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be also a great way to be able to transition into your panel as well.
There's 2 things that I want you to hit on that I know that we've talked about many times, which is trade stacking.
Yep.
You know, of what that means, how things can speed up and be efficient, but also, you know, during construction sequencing.
Yep.
Could be a single house, could be a townhome project, and how construction sequencing plays into that.
Absolutely. And you know what? A lot of people don't realize this. That's figured out in pre-con.
Well,
so,
you know, if you don't have pre-con, you don't have any of that.
Correct. So let's start from the very beginning of what that pre-construction phase looks like. A lot of builders will approach it and actually think about, okay, I need to put a schedule in place. I need to get all of my subcontractors bid out. I need to identify what that scope of work is. I need to finalize my plans, finalize the design, which all of that is extremely important, but there's different depths that you can actually take that to. So starting with the project scope of work itself. Project scope of work, a lot of times what builders will do is they'll just send the set of plans, say they're sending it to a painter. Say, hey, I want you to quote out the interior and exterior paint here. They're not specifying, I want one
number of colors,
I
how
want
many
one
coats?
coat of primer, I want 2 coats of the actual color as well. All right, what is that base coat? When I say base coat, you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to the number of colors. Depending upon your base coat, you might have a white, you might have a gray, you might have a black. Depending upon what that final color is going to be, there's a base color to be able to actually make it. Now, that's a very fast way to be able to jack up the price. Are we going contractor grade paint? Or are we going more of like a duration and more of the top of the line whenever it comes to the Sherwin-Williams, all right? Are you going Sherwin-Williams? Are you going Behr? I mean, again, there's so many different levels that you can go down to, but the more specific you can get on the actual scope of work instead of just sending over the plans, having that conversation on the front end and actually setting what those expectations are, not only is that going to streamline the project in and itself, it also is going to build a better reputation and relationship with that subcontractor, because the last thing they want to do is come back and fix some work just because you didn't talk about the level of quality and finish it needs to be.
I mean, the last thing anybody wants is change orders or RFIs.
Correct.
But the more attention to detail and communication on the front end, is going to save that. We'd be lying to you if we said that, if a project can, be done with 0 change orders.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with that.
Let me know.
I was about to say,
that.
you could spend 10 hours a day, 365 days, an entire year, including weekends, vetting out and figuring out, okay, what are the VE options within this plan? What's the actual overlap going to be on these particular details? Things like that. Something's always going to come up.
Yeah.
It always is. You can only flush those out to an extent. Now, that being said, not only for the scope of work, because that ties directly into what that individual bid is going to be. So the bid, that's huge when it comes to the actual contract negotiations with the subs. Include your EHS plan.
Yep.
Include your quality plan, what those level of standards are and what those tolerances are. As an example, within cabinetry, are you holding it to an 1/8 of an inch? Are you holding it to a 1/16 of an inch whenever you're actually determining what those lines are? Are they using a laser? What's the cleanliness? And that goes down to one thing that I've always said, you've heard me say it so many different times now, is that a clean job is a safe one and an efficient one. So that's another thing. A lot of these subcontractors will be in and out, and they'll be what we call in commercial construction, or A2s. A2s are not tied to a specific scope of work when it comes to the actual construction and the actual hard costs of construction, but it's everything that's outlying. So anything from, hey, you have to clean up your workspace, spend the last 30 minutes before you leave the job site and just leave your workspace clean. Same thing is within your EHS plan is like, okay, if you're doing dust creating activities, are you out there, you cutting concrete? If you're cutting concrete, do you actually have some form of water or spraying mechanism to be able to control that dust? Or are you wearing gloves while you're doing any type of cutting? Are you having your safety glasses on? Are you wearing a mask in those types of environments? You can put it to whatever level of detail you want it to be. Really, it comes down to what your company standards are. But setting all of those expectations of quality, of safety, of efficiency, productivity, and really exactly what that scope of work is. Don't be surprised if they send you an initial bid from the very beginning and then you send them all your standards and what you're expecting out of them, and it increases. But you know what? That comes at a cost.
We've said it. We would rather somebody bid a specific trade a little higher, knowing that they are going to come back and or even do things right.
Yep.
I don't want to keep calling you 2, 3, 4 times to come back, finish your work, clean up, or whatever the case is. Hey, we'd rather pay a premium to have it done right the first time.
And they would also rather be on those types of jobs.
100%.
So that's a big piece. And I know we are getting off topic a little bit for the pre-con side of things, because what ties into that is exactly what you just talked about. And that you wanted me to bring up was the actual sequencing and the trade stacking. So within that schedule that you're actually building out on the front end, and every single home builder does, and those productivity margins that they want to stay within their company KPIs, having those is very intentional, but it comes down to, okay, what stage of construction you're in. You can't really expect a subcontractor to be the most amount of productivity and the highest level of efficiency if they're surrounded by a bunch of other subcontractors at the same time.
They're just working on top of each other.
Needs to be intentional. So
Correct.
well thought out, but that allows you to be able to actually streamline and shorten some of those construction timelines if it's done intentionally.
How do you do that intentionally? One of the things that you always say is a 3-week look ahead.
Yep.
So, if you're talking about a 3-week look ahead, then you go down to 2, 1, 3, 2, 1 days ahead.
Yep.
And you're just making sure that they're bought in to, hey, I need you on Monday.
Yep.
So that the drywallers aren't working over top of somebody, whoever else is on site. whoever the case, right? You want to make sure that, if somebody's on a floor above, somebody's not doing, overlapping, that it's going to cause less efficiency, slow things down.
It's the 3-2-1 rule. So within those subcontractor commitments, exactly like you said, we're sending out a 3-week look ahead. Things change. You might have bad weather come in. Are some uncontrollables within construction, as we all know. But the 3-2-1 rule is 3 weeks ahead, I'm letting you know when we have you on the schedule. 2 weeks ahead, same exact thing, and I'm getting a commitment every single time. Say, hey, are you still on the books? Like, are we good? You coming to our project? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week, and then days. 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. So I know it may seem as though it's over communication, but at the same time, if they don't show that day, that's a day that's lost.
Yeah.
Especially depending upon the trade that it is. And that's being able to get down to this level of detail. Yes, I understand it's a lot of time on the front end, but I like to look at pre-con as 90% of the success of your job is determined in pre-con.
How much percent of shortening a timeline with a solid pre-con, how much of a percent would you say can it save?
With a solid pre-con, I mean, shoot, that's 90% of your planning, scheduling, commitments, all the above. Honestly, I'd probably say you're saving on average, if you were to take and do this level of detail within a pre-construction phase on projects in comparison to the schedule that you currently hold as a company.
Yeah.
As to what that typical cycle time is let's call it on a ground up construction project. If your average cycle time, say, is sitting at that 100%, you're probably, by the end of it, if you truly think through every single step, every single stage, 15 to 20%. Easily. I mean, I would hold that as a baseline. Like, you should absolutely be higher than that. If you're doing it well, 35%.
Yeah.
Because this is a big thing that's incremental, or not incremental, it's integral in commercial construction, is a logistics plan.
Yep.
No, I swear nobody in residential construction does a freaking logistics plan.
I mean,
and it's
you got deliveries, everybody's coming on and off site.
Well, and people look at it and they're like, okay, well, it's a single lot. Like, yeah, I hear you, it's a single lot, but whenever you have trusses being delivered, you have your framing being delivered, you have your roofing material being delivered, all of these different deliveries that take place, don't get me started on just-in-time deliveries, but all of these different deliveries, material staging area, material laydown area, just because you have one individual lot, which a lot of times can be a very tight space, you want to be able to go to your subs and say, hey, I know I'm expecting this level of quality, level of cleanliness, safety, productivity. I'm expecting all of this out of you, but you can hold me accountable as well. You can hold my feet to the fire to where whenever you have all of those deliveries take place, or you need to be able to stage, or you're actually going through for the finished carpenters and they need a cutting area, we are going to have that identified on an actual plan so they know exactly what their workspace is.
Yep.
So when they get there, there is no question of where am I putting this? Yeah. All it takes is one delivery getting in the way when you have a concrete truck coming to pour in place. And if you have a concrete truck, if they're waiting, you might not be able to use that concrete anymore.
Right.
So you got to be able to think through every single step and schedule all of those different activities accordingly while still being able to deliver a site logistics plan. Where's your dumpster going? Where's your porta-john going?
All of that seems like it means, not much at all. Mm-hmm. So a dumpster, where does a dumpster go? A porta-john, that means so much more than you would think.
If you're on a big lot or you're on a full development, we actually we did a study in school, and this sounds weird, but this is why I specifically put those in logistics plans every single time, is because we actually did a study, and easy math. Say you're working on a full development. Say it's a 40-home development. And depending upon the location of those dumpsters, depending upon the location of those porta-johns, a lot of people are like, yeah, put it right there. That's great. That's the closest to the building as to when the drywallers are going in there installing, they have their cuts, and they need to be able to actually take it out to the dumpster. I get it. You want it to be as close to it as possible. All right, is the truck going to be able to maneuver in there to even be able to pull it out? Like those small types of details, let's do porta-johns. Because all it takes, let's do some math. All it takes, and this is the study we did, is if that particular sub, say they got a crew of 4 guys, They got a crew of 4 guys on average. They're probably going to the bathroom, what, twice a day?
If at a minimum.
At a minimum.
And you
Depending
got
if they had that.
What if you got to walk to it?
That's what I'm saying.
And you got to walk all the way across the job site.
Walk across the job site, walk back. I mean, we saw a project that we came in and were involved on, and they were losing on average from the calculation like 45 to 50 man hours per week of just guys walking to and from the Porta-John. And it's like, that's why we're saying there's levels to this, of the level of detail that you want to be able to go into, because compressing construction timelines is all about the planning that you do on the front end and making sure that you have those commitments with the subs, you have those level of expectations, those are completely aligned.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way to do it. But I mean, next thing I want to talk about is the actual systems you have in place. We use Buildertrend.
Yeah.
So us using Buildertrend, it's beautiful what's happening, especially nowadays with all the different AI and it. You could wake up and get an actual daily update on what's new in AI on a daily basis. And it's like, all right, like, what are we going to actually use? What are we going to put into action? What are we going to implement within the systems we already have without completely recreating the wheel?
I mean, it's great because we have a portal that, let's say we use this analogy every time, but, if we're building a house for you and you live in California, you can see what's going on your job site every day. You see the schedule.
Yep.
You see what trades are going to be out there. You got photos. And, we always wanted to pride ourselves on the transparency aspect of building. And, everything is there. We're not trying to hide anything. We don't have anything to hide. It could be your house that you're living in, we're doing work on, or, you live out of town. And it's all about making sure that client can see everything. And, we could spend a whole nother day talking about Buildertrend and the capabilities that it has. But, from the client standpoint, it just provides so much clarity and transparency, I think is the best way to say it.
And I think what it all boils down to is
not everybody uses it either. Let's just say that.
Most
we
don't.
figured that out.
Most don't.
Yeah.
Most use it only for the subcontractors because...
Or internally on their side.
Because that's the big thing is... Okay, how much time? There's so many different phone calls you got to make. There's so many different vendors, subcontractors, suppliers. There's so many people that you have to stay in touch with that open, constant communication. And that a lot of it can be automated. Now, you can actually move forward with the automation, but you got to verify and still make sure and still actually have those personal human touch points.
Yeah.
Along the way. But I mean, just one thing as an example, you brought up the 3-week look ahead. One thing that we have and actually put into action as well is within that 3-week look ahead, it's not being blasted out to every single subcontractor for the entire duration of the job. I mean, those guys' phones would be blown up. But if you are going to be on our job site within the next 3 weeks and your date moves at all, say Mother Nature was in a mad mood one day and we had a big storm come in. We're not actually able to progress the job as much as we would have liked to that day. Okay. Guess what? The project was delayed one day. Not only are you able to actually show what that delay came from, which is immediately communicated to the client, but it also is immediately communicated to every single subcontractor that's going to be on site in the next 3 weeks.
Yep.
So it's just that automation that is a lot of the tedious, not going to say monotonous, but it's the tedious time suck types of tasks that can be automated, and you can really start to streamline things to where, look at it from a FTE, full-time employee, typical ratio, you're looking at a 1.0. Within your project team and within your company as a whole, the more you're able to automate and the more you're able to lean on those types of systems that you implement and have in place, you can get it to a 2, 3, 3x ratio to where you're not having to think within your projections of, okay, well, where are the bottlenecks that I'm actually dealing with on a daily basis? I got to go hire some more personnel. I got to take on that additional overhead for the company. Leaning into those types of things, which is why it's amazing the day and age that we live in now, but being able to actually take those and run with them.
100%.
What else did I say that I was going to talk about?
I think you hit all those points.
Good.
Because, I'm surprised.
I am too, because once I start going down on a tangent.
You typically won't stop.
You're right.
Now there was, we were recently, where were we this past weekend? We had a good time. What were we doing?
This past weekend, we were actually up in Pinehurst.
Never been there before.
Yeah, which is surprising. I swear, any golf course that comes up, this man has been there. Okay, and also if he ever challenges you or puts something on the line, don't do it. So I can tell you that right now. Me, you're probably winning 10 times out of 10.
Hey, it was a phenomenal time.
It was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
It's one of those places I think we'll go back.
Yeah, it's safe to say. It's a small little, it's truly a village.
Yeah. Yeah.
The village of Pinehurst is what it's called.
I didn't know what to expect, but being a huge golf fan, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think we'll have to go back and actually go to the resort.
I agree with that. Matter of fact, we should do a podcast while we're there.
We could, maybe we could find some folks while we're there.
We can find some folks while we're there for sure. But no, it was absolutely beautiful. It's nice being able to see. One, we see it on the lending side all the different times, being able to lend nationwide. We see what's going on in different markets. We see what's going on in, say, major MSAs to where, okay, yeah, it might have been real hot for the last 5 years and there has been a hardcore downturn. But seeing some of these smaller little niche pockets and types of areas, business is booming.
Yeah. Going to places like that, it gets my mind turning.
It does.
Because, we were driving there and we're like, where are we?
We didn't have service.
Where's civilization? And then we come up on like the village area and we're back and we see a Harris Teeter and we see a bank and
we see a bank,
boom,
Harris Teeter, Starbucks, CVS. Is like, okay, civilization.
We're here.
Out of nowhere.
Then, I would love to see the history on, a specific place like Pinehurst, but it's crazy that we'll call it one day in the past, somebody has a dream and to do a development or to, hey, some people are going to come to this area of town and, doing what we do now, you drive places and you're like, you kind of do, you think and you're like, what got this started?
Right.
We're driving in all of these neighborhoods or around and, you're not passing like super, super, nice affluent areas. And then you go into neighborhoods or where these golf courses are and you're like, who had this idea many years ago?
I think about it's like chicken before the egg type situation is kind of how I look at it. But I find myself doing the same exact thing because really the village of Pinehurst, and a heck of a lot better than I do of kind of the history behind the golf courses in that area. The first thing that comes to my mind is there's nothing there. Now, seriously, there's nothing. We didn't even have cell phone reception for the 45 minutes before we actually even got there.
Yeah.
But that makes me think okay, did they just find this plot of land and they're like, yeah, we're going to put a golf course here, and then they just built a town around it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sand Hills. I found myself in that saying a lot.
Yeah. What, we get this question all the time. When you're thinking about something like that, somebody went to a bank, somebody went to somebody.
How do you sell that?
Hey, I'm going to need money for this to develop this, or I'm selling you on this vision, and boom, here we are. It's kind of crazy that obviously somebody, was able to get a loan or from somebody at some point to get something going. And, it's crazy how that is. Because, people come to us and maybe they've flipped a few houses or, maybe they don't specifically meet that criteria because they've only done a small amount of builds. But, we want to be able to help people get off the ground. And, because of our background, we want to be able to be the creative type folks of understanding the business plan of a specific type of loan or a specific type of structure to be able to make something work for both parties as long as it makes sense.
It does, yeah. And that's really the interesting thing about it is that, like you said, somebody had to get a loan in place for that. Yeah. And at that point, there's really not any data to support that it's going to work and that it's a good investment.
Right.
If there's nothing there,
Right.
and then the town kind of built itself around it, but that I just thought of one thing that I didn't talk about, which would actually been a great transition of combining and making sure that you're on the same page with your lender when it comes to construction timelines. But sorry, there's the tangent we were talking about. But I mean, I think that's a good segue. One, not even to talking about as we're driving throughout the country, or even then just visiting different places. You could be on vacation with your family.
Yeah.
And those are the type of thoughts that are coming to mind. And that's one thing that we kind of talked about, or at least touched on in the very first podcast we did, was flipping that switch of what the mindset is. And that you could just be driving through and not even thinking twice about it. But the more you start to think on that deeper level,
The visionary level.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, because, you've got to be able to walk into a house that you're flipping or walk onto a piece of dirt and take a deep visual realization of what this can be or could be.
And how to get it there.
That's right.
How to get it there. Surrounding yourself with the right people. And especially when you're getting started, like you mentioned. I mean, I love working with people that had just started flipping houses or just started building houses, because you're along every single step of the journey with them at that point. You get to see them scale. You get to see the people turn it from a side hustle into the full hustle.
I mean, I've seen that firsthand.
Right.
This is amazing. I mean, I did something for somebody years ago. It was one of my first 5 loans I've ever done in my life. And, it was a guy that was flipping a house for the first time. He took a chance on me. I took a chance on him, and we all worked together. Well, guess what? Let's fast forward now. He has flipped, I think, over 30, 40 houses, has over 40 rental properties. He's got his builder's license now. Went from a bartender to now doing this full time. And all the while, I was just an extension of his business.
Yep.
Helping him grow and scale. I think one of the most beautiful things of what we do in lending is, a lot of it can be transactional. I mean, it can, here's your loan terms. All right, we're going to go to closing tomorrow. Sounds good. All right, hey, I need a draw. Here's your money. You got it. Let's just keep, all right, is your project moving? Okay, got it. Well, no, let's really pull the curtain back. The financing that we're providing is changing communities for the better. It could be providing Section 8 housing for a rental property for a family to move into that didn't otherwise have housing. It could be providing fix and flip money for a first-time home buyer, husband, wife moving in for their first home. It could be that move-up buyer of a flip that's a $800,000 to $1 million house, whatever. You're coming in and providing financing on dirt, on condemned houses maybe, on otherwise that banks wouldn't do, to be able to turn communities around for the better.
It definitely is. And I think it's different for us, though, because we also do that. So we're able to put ourselves in those investors' shoes, in those flippers' shoes, in those builders' shoes, rental, people that have a big rental portfolio. I mean, we know the ins and outs of what it's like to manage a property.
Yeah.
So
you got to call at 2 a.m. Hey, my toilet's clogged up. It's overflowing, or something's going on. Heck, I mean, even gotten a call on Christmas.
Yep, absolutely. So seeing the ins and outs of it and being able to experience it firsthand, I think, that's just me, but I think that's what makes us different.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is very transactional, especially when you have people sitting there and you're doing it nationwide, is you're seeing numbers on a paper, you're seeing numbers on a spreadsheet, you're looking at appraisals, you're looking at floor plans. You're not actually there in person, physically walking it. And really, we're looking behind the curtain and from a lender's playbook, as a sense of we're looking at it like a lender, but at the same exact time it's a different level of appreciation to where it doesn't feel, and it never will feel, transactional to us, because we know what's going on a day-to-day basis to even bring that dream to a reality.
100%. I mean, I think, we can kind of dangle the carrot so to speak. We're working on something that I think a lot of people here in this Greenville market will really like. You know, in Q1, here in about a month, 45 days or so, you know, we'll be sharing some more information on, we want to pull people together here locally. You know, it could be investors, builders, developers. You know, everybody thinks that they're competing for deals, but at the same time, everybody needs to work together.
They do.
Because that's only going to help change legislation. It's going to help change the market, you know, subcontractors. Because, heck, you know, you don't even know that you may be overlapping subs on people that you're all probably working with the same people.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And even then, that's some of the best relationships we have are what other companies or other people would consider their competitors. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to go
just
talk to him.
feed off each other.
He took a deal from me that, or he bought the lot that I put an offer in on. And looking at it that way, when in comparison, I can probably tell you right now, your business plan and your investment strategy is probably not identical to a T.
100%.
Meaning they may pass on a particular deal that you may never have even seen, and you may not see unless you have that relationship in place. And it's like, hey, listen, man, like whether your project team's a little bit too busy, or saying like, hey, like this absolutely fits within my box, but listen, I don't have the time, I don't have the bandwidth. Is this something you want to take a swing at?
Yeah.
And it all comes back around.
It's relationships.
It is.
I mean, geez, that could be anything.
It could.
As we wrap up today, what is your biggest takeaway that you want, if you had to say it in one sentence, you know, to kind of let the people know of, you know, if I want to speed up my projects and be efficient, number one, reach out to us. We can help.
Absolutely.
Happy to put a process together or share what we've done. But what's your one takeaway?
One takeaway, I'd say construction already has so many different uncontrollables in that it's construction. Things are going to happen. It's never going to go perfectly according to plan. But similar to what we say in lending, similar to what we say, or even then, people across any type of professional industry, is you don't have to plan for everything to go perfectly. Plan for the worst case scenario, and if the worst case scenario doesn't happen, you're planning conservatively. If the deal's pencil in a worst case scenario type environment, it's going to be a home run of a deal. So
right.
Truly, I would say focus more time on pre-construction. Have a 30-minute brainstorming session where there is no bad idea of, hey, this could go wrong. Hey, we ran into this previously, lessons learned. Document everything so that you can actually put those into action, and you're going to learn as you go, as are we. We learn every single day.
Yeah.
So, but the more you're able to plan on the front end, the more streamlined your overall project's going to be in the end.
100%. And if anybody has any questions about what any of this means, or you just want to know more about pre-con, what is pre-con, how to make it a better process for you and your team, we'll have our email listed that you can reach out to us and get, you know, more information, speak with us how we can help you, because at the end of the day, we want to be a resource to be able to help people.
Absolutely. We want to help. That's a lot of people are hesitant to reach out, or even if they feel as though it's like, that's a stupid question. There are no stupid questions. We're all learning on a daily basis. We're all figuring it out as we go. So let's learn from each other.
Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to getting back with you next time.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.